Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Excellencies, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Pro Vice Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, and my dear students. We are a crisis nation, and our crisis has a global ramification. So we are looked at today as a source of all crises. This contemporary image of ours is quite contrary to how Quran describes us, where we are portrayed as Khairi Ummah, the chosen people of God, specifically raised to enjoin good and forbid wrong. Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat linnas. Our Prophet, we are told in the Quran, brought with him no communitarian project for the benefit of Muslim people alone. Instead, he was rahmatul lil alameen, a blessing and mercy unto mankind. And as a continuing and living legacy of our beloved Prophet, we are supposed to be a divinely ordained nation in whom all nations of the world find solace and tranquility. But contrary to this Quranic image, look what has become of us. We are a nation in ruins, from Iraq to Syria and further down to Lebanon, from posh urban centers in Pakistan to the rugged hills of Afghanistan, and from the devastated lands of Libya and Egypt to the Arab center of Yemen. Muslims are pitted against Muslims. Imagine the chaos. Muslims are bombing Muslims. They are flying drones against Muslims. The entire central land of Islam has become a battleground where the Ummah of the last Prophet is on a suicide spree. Brothers and sisters, today we are facing an Islamic meltdown. The Muslim world is being depopulated, and at an alarming rate. According to a conservative estimate, in 1991 Iraq war alone, more than 80,000 explosives were dropped by the coalition forces that killed around 100,000 Iraqi soldiers, 350,000 innocent civilians, and after the bombing, 111,000 people died due to shortage of medicine. 70,000 of them were children under 15. And the economic sanction that followed, according to UNICEF documentation, resulted in the death of over 500,000 children. In 2003, Iraq again became a battleground, resulting into the death of 650,000 people by June 2006, according to a survey published in Lancet. And according to an OBR survey of Iraq war, in just 4 years, from 2003 to 2007, more than 1 million people died. And this is just about Iraq. A civil war has gripped neighboring Syria, where some 250,000 people have perished so far, and that is according to a UN report. 11 million of them have left their home. 4 million of them have taken refuge in neighboring countries. And according to some rights group estimation, some 10 million people inside Syria do not have enough to eat. Imagine the scale of devastation. A country of just 22 million people, of them 11 million displaced, 4 million fled to neighboring countries, and 10 million who are inside the country, they don't have enough to eat. Muslims killing Muslims, and with the help of foreign weapons and advisors, has become such an established and huge industry that there are now websites settled specifically for this purpose. They count our dead bodies. One such organization is Iraq Body Count, that updates the website on a daily basis how many Muslims from both sides are killed today. Taliban and other sectarian groups have created havoc in Pakistan. Afghanistan, which lost 1.5 million Muslims in the Afghan jihad, has become an open wound. And what is happening in Yemen? Muslims on both sides of the conflict Zaidi Shias locked in war with their Sunni brothers. And there are all indications that the flame of the war will spill over to the entire region. One might say that it is an oversimplification to look at the entire conflict into Shia-Sunni paradigm. But those who know the mindset of the people who travel far lands and go there at the Maqbara of Sayyida Zainab to defend the faith of Sayyida Zainab, and those who are demolishing the Maqbara of Sheikh al-Rifai, they know that they are doing a religious duty. Both sides of the conflict, the Shias as well as the Sunnis. The late Ayatollah Khomeini, who championed the cause of Islamic unity and who raised the slogan La Shia ala Sunniya Islamiyya Islamiyya, and who wanted to do away with the man-made Shia and Sunni identity, in his later years, after the 8 years Iraq war, he realized, in which 1 million people died on both sides of the conflict, that the 8 years old war turned the Iranian nation, or the nation of Iran, or a state of Iran, into the defender of a Shia faith. Today, we talk of the looming Shia crescent, the increasing dominance of nuclear Iran, and the Sunni world is made believe that the emergence of nuclear Iran will tantamount to a slap in the face of Sunni Islam. Dear friends, make no mistake. It is our internal contradiction that allowed others to occupy our lands, grab our resources, dishonor our women, kill our children, and depopulate our villages. They hire us for our own killing. Call it Sunni Al-Qaeda or Shia Hezbollah, or be the Taliban or Daesh, Jaish-e-Mahdi or Sipah-e-Sahaba. We Muslims are strange mercenaries, hired to kill our own sons and daughters. This is sheer madness, cannibalism of the worst kind. Brothers and sisters, today we are locked in the deadliest and bloodiest internecine conflict of history. Never before in the 1400 years of Islam we ever had so much sophisticated weapon and at such a large scale at our disposal to commit a collective suicide. Never before self-hating preachers had the privilege of running hate shops on the internet or streaming out venom and filth through YouTube videos. Hearken, O Muslims, if we do not come back to our senses, the sectarian cannibalism will distinguish us as one ummah. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the rise and fall of a nation is not a big deal. وَلَوْلَا دَخُلْ اللَّهِ النَّاسَ بَعْضَهُمْ بِبَعْضٍ is a routine matter. But extension of the Muslim Ummah is no ordinary concern. They are the upholder of the last message of God to humanity. Simply put, they are the continuing legacy of all the prophets and seers, and by virtue of being deputies of the last prophet, they have been entrusted to lead history till end time. It is because of our ejection from the seat of authority and guidance that the world is in disarray. And our ejection took place because, contrary to the Quranic exhortations, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا, and hold fast the covenant of God together and do not get divided, we preferred to look otherwise. And so did God Almighty. Our covenant with God was broken. God raised us as one nation. وَأَنَّ هَذِهِ أُمَّتَكُمْ أُمَّةٌ وَاحِدَةٌ. He chose to call us Muslims. هُوَ سَمَّاكُمُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. Yet we kept on violating the covenant of God. We acquired ungodly identities, gave in to sectarian loyalties, and even blasphemously called ourselves as Sunnis and Shi'is, Ismailis and Ibadis, Sufis and Salafis, Deobandis and Brahilvis, and on and on and on and on. And this sentence is painfully long. Today, the agony that we are in is God's judgment on us, who had very clearly warned us, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ فَرَّقُوا دِينَهُمْ وَكَانُوا شِيَعًا لَّسْتَ مِنْهُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ إِنَّمَا أَمْرُهُمْ إِلَى اللَّهِ ثُمَّ يُنَبِّئُهُمْ بِمَا كَانُوا يَفْعَلُونَ. Verily, as for those who have broken the unity of their faith and have become sects, thou hast nothing to do with them. Behold, their case rests with God, and in time He will make them understand what they were doing. Ya ayyuhal Muslimun, to get back to the seat of glory and power and deserve God's abounding mercy once again, we need to get rid of false identities and return to the fold of original Islam, the fold of one Ummah. Today, the Muslim mind is terribly confused. A vast gap exists between what the Quran enjoins and what our sectarian preachers and cult leaders preach. The crisis in the Muslim East and elsewhere, where the Muslim is pitted against Muslims, is a reflection of the crisis in the Muslim mind. We know of the CPECAMI Treaty, a secret deal that fragmented the world of Islam into many nation states, leaving no room for any future revival. But we are not aware of, or at least not sensitive to, the many CPECAMI Treaty and that came up somehow in course of our history. And they are the fiqhi, maslaki, ideological CPECAMI. It is time to declare that we reject all CPECAMI, be they political or ideological, and struck by veteran enemies or naive well-wishers. A new beginning cannot be made unless we muster enough courage to reopen the book of God and listen to the voice of God speak to us without any human mediation. Islam is a gift of God to humanity. It is our collective heritage. If it gets blurred or adulterated, it is everybody's concern. We cannot leave it to any group of specialists or clergy to tell us what God really wants from us. In Islam, everybody is his own pope. Our Prophet came to liberate us from the shackles of clergy. The two-day conclave at Aligarh brings together some of the best minds from various sectarian affiliations, and that is intended to be a place for collective introspection. The conference is a befitting tribute to our beloved founder, who always used his head for hard thinking and not as a cap stand. To quote Iqbal, he was the first Indian Muslim who felt the need of a fresh orientation of Islam and worked for it. We may differ from his religious views, but there can be no denying the fact that his sensitive soul was the first to react to the modern times. The extreme conservatism of Indian Muslims, which had lost touch of the realities of life, failed to see the real meaning of the religious attitude of Sayyid Ahmad Khan. Unquote. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you won't miss the symbolic significance of this historic seat of learning, which is a traditional abode of vibrant, dynamic, and creative thinking in Islam, and which is witnessing now an all-out revival under the visionary leadership of our Vice-Chancellor, General Shah, who has made it himself to make this university #1 in just 2 years' time, inshallah. With new roads and newer pavements, he has already fixed potholes on the grounds. And if this conference is able to fix potholes in our minds, the overall Aligarh Renaissance will be achieved, inshallah. As the convener of this high-profile conference, it is my duty to make your stay comfortable and productive. I am humbled by the huge response. Some 600 people from across the world are here to take part in collective thinking. Around 200 of them have come from various Indian cities, and 20 of them from abroad. They traveled all the way from Cairo, Islamabad, Kuala Lumpur, London, Paris, Moscow, Maryland, Atlanta, Washington, D.C., and other cities. We warmly welcome our guests, especially foreign dignitaries, to the traditional Aligarh hospitality. It is humble, very basic, and at times even challenging, but productive, hopefully productive. I pray to Allah that He makes this conference a great success. Ameen, Ya Rabbul Alameen.